Hi, it's Prorik Sam. Welcome to this live webinar where we've got a structure today where we're looking primarily at the Cyprus tax return liabilities and what they are at the moment and what they mean for people living and working abroad at the moment. So, welcome to this live webinar. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to stay in touch with living and working abroad. And today we're specifically looking at Cyprus tax returns because it's an annual calendar year tax return service and it's been a bit delayed, but it's now after the data issues been gone online and returns can now be done. So a number of deadlines, a number of key dates and tax payments that need to be due for expats living and working abroad. So from the start of this week, the 17th of July, the tax portal in Cyprus is finally open. What that means is that online tax returns can now be submitted for expats living and working abroad. Now, if you want to watch this in a bit more detail, you can also listen back on the Twitter space, which somebody didn't start before. So we've also got a Twitter space which you can listen to. So apologies for that delay. So let's consider Cyprus tax returns for that are due now, and it's all come together like Christmas. You've got and birthdays all wrapped into one. We've got two lots of tax returns that are due in July. On the 17th of July, the Cyprus tax portal opened and allows expats living and working abroad to submit their returns. The original deadline for submission, the end of July, has been extended to the 2nd of October. So in practice, by the end of September, the tax returns for this year need to be done. 2nd of October is the absolute due date. The end of September is a practical due date. If you've got tax to pay for 2022, any balance of tax to pay, then you need to submit your return to get the code before you can pay the tax. There's been lots of issues with paying tax in Cyprus over the last couple of years as they amend and revise the system, which has been changed again this year. So to give yourself the time, we need to prepare and submit the tax return as soon as possible, but practically before the last week in September. What we're doing for clients now is preparing the tax returns so we can get those submitted. So clients can contact us at projectpartnership.com and we can help and guide them there. But more than that, that is the annual event that comes up for the tax returns for 2022. You can actually pay 2023 tax now as well. So if you've got an income tax liability or one of the other taxes under self-assessment in Cyprus, that's payable in July. So that self-assessment and tax payment needs to be done this month. So for more information and guidance on that, contact us at projectpartnership.com. But you need to do that self-assessment and make that payment before the end of July for that to be due. So those are the key dates. End of September to prepare and submit the return. Tax to be paid by the 2nd of October for 2022, balance of tax to pay on worldwide income. And then the end of July for self-assessed income tax for 2023. So let's now go into a bit more detail on that and try to describe exactly what that means. It could be that the tax return date is pushed back again. In 2021-22, we saw the dates being extended, the submission dates being extended as late as the end of November. So it's every practicality that can be done again, but we can't guarantee that. the tax preparation needs to be done now. So what needs to be declared on the Cyprus tax return? If you're tax resident and you've got income in excess of 19,500 euros, then you need to do a Cyprus tax return. However, that is never the straight answer in Cyprus, because you've also potentially got a worldwide liability to health tax on your worldwide income. So if you've got any property rental, dividend earnings from overseas and you're a Cyprus tax resident, that health tax liability is still due. It may not be a lot, 2.65%, but if that liability is due, that means you need to do a tax return. When else do you need to do a tax return? If you own property in Cyprus and you want to sell that, to get tax clearance for your property sale, then you need to have a tax return completed up to date. And the minimum they will ask you, if you haven't done a tax return in the past, is for 6 years, even if it's there's little or no income to declare. So unless you're registered as non-dom, unless you're registered without any, you've got no income at all, then you've got potentially health taxes, interest, dividends, royalties, earnings, and property rental income to be declared from around the world for your worldwide tax return in Cyprus, potentially up to 5 years. So ProAct, we always advise clients to complete and submit the return each year, even if it's a nil return, just to keep their records up to date. It's also evidence, if you return to your home country or another country, of where you were tax resident. So if you've been in a country for a number of years, not completed a return, then potentially your home country's got an opportunity to assess you retrospectively, and you get into a burden of proof. One proof of expat tax residency is submitting a return. So it's always a good idea. If you've not paid all your tax for Cyprus earnings for 2022, when you've completed your return, it will confirm the balance of any tax to pay. And this is payable by the 2nd of October. But you can't pay that balance of tax until you get a submission code for your income from the tax return that you complete and submit online in Cyprus. And so just have that in mind, that you need to give yourself the time to pay that. If you're late, there'll be interest and late return or late payment penalties that could be applied. So again, prepare in advance and get that sorted out. If you don't pay any, when you consider the self-assessed tax for 2023, if you don't pay it by the end of July, then you don't get another opportunity to do that. You have to, until the next portal opens. So in December, you can self-assess and pay some more 2023 self-assessed tax, but then you may already be liable for penalties and interest. And if you then don't pay in the December window, then you then have to wait until you can complete and submit the 2023 full return, which, as we've seen this year, it drags on and on. It should have been available for March, and we're now into mid-July before it becomes available. So it's best to plan ahead. And if you need to do a self-assessment return, or even just pay some tax on account to be sure, you could do that now and have that peace of mind to avoid penalties and interest at a later date. With Cyprus tax, bear in mind, non-dom, you have to be registered and certified that you are entitled to pay 0% tax on dividends, interest, and property rental income. So that can be a big tax saving for expats living and working abroad, especially contractors. Being a Cyprus tax resident, you need to have that non-dom form to be able to pay zero tax on a dividend income strategy, which means you could earn £1 million and pay in dividends and pay no tax as a Cyprus non-dom tax resident. The health tax is potentially always liable to be paid on worldwide income for all expats living and working abroad. Will they find out? That's a discrete approach that doesn't work, because if you're filling out a tax return and you're not declaring income, then that compromises you in your future relationships with the world and the tax authorities you're with at the time. So there is a health tax that's liable on your worldwide income. For more information and guidance, contact us at proactpartnership.com. It's not clear. The rules are still being set for this new tax introduced in 2019. And as the assessments come out in the future, the rules might be refined or interpreted in a slightly different way, which could give you a complication. And the £200 a year tax could suddenly become a £500 a year liability. So for more information and guidance on that, contact us at proactpartnership.com. There's there's another issue for contractors that are Cyprus tax resident. So if you're working outside Cyprus, but you want to be a Cyprus tax resident, you could spend as little as 60 days a year in Cyprus, but pay tax and but be working abroad. So your worldwide income can be subject to tax in Cyprus with only 60 days residence, so 2 months leave spent in Cyprus a year, and you don't pay tax on your worldwide income. So if you've earned 300,000 overseas, if you've not got a tax residence anywhere, then your home country is liable to tax that. So a 200,000 euro income in the UK for UK tax residents would be taxed at 45%. As a Cyprus tax resident, that contractor could be a Cyprus tax resident, not pay tax wherever they're working, including if that's a remote job. And if they're spending less than 60 days, the opportunity then is if that contract has to be done abroad, outside Cyprus, the 60-day rule means that you only pay tax on a remitted basis. So you could earn 200,000 tax-free in one location. There's no double taxation treaty with your home country. So you become a tax resident in Cyprus where there is a double taxation treaty with your home country. And in that way, using the 60-day rule, you can pay little or no tax for that expat living and working abroad. So there's lots of other top tips that we could do down the line. For more information and guidance, contact us at proactpartnership.com. In summary, expats need to be non-dom registered to be able to enjoy 0% tax on interest, dividends and property rental income. They need to have a resident permit to get a tax number in Cyprus, to then be able to make a Cyprus tax return for their worldwide earnings. If you're working overseas and you're only in the country for 60 days a year, you need to have that certified, and they will check the borders for that. But that means that you could work from a country where there's no double taxation treaty with your home country, but because there is with Cyprus, only pay tax on a remittance basis, which could be zero. Okay, and if you're a nomad working, there's special schemes and incentives here in Cyprus where you could pay 50% of whatever tax rate for 10 years or more, and that means that potentially up to 20 years you could potentially be paying 0% tax on dividends and a maximum income tax rate of 17% on your worldwide earnings as a Cyprus tax resident. For more information and guidance, contact us at proactpartnership.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay in touch with living and working abroad, not just for Cyprus, but for UK expats living and working abroad around the world and in other EU countries, to discuss resident permits, tax residency and tax returns. And if you need help and guidance with a tax return, contact us and we'll help you get that sorted straight away. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you again next time.